That's what I read in the pre-sentence.
I had no help. I couldn't leave her there by herself. I was the only one there for 64 nights.
So what gave you the right to take the card and use it? How does that correlate? It doesn't.
I had no right.
That's the point.
Morning. I'd like to apologize to my children. I had higher expectations for myself. Losing my dad unexpectedly in August of 24 and not being able to say goodbye was extremely tough. As I look forward to going home and helping my mother, she tells me she only has 3 to 6 months to live. And in that 6 months, on January 25th, 2026, she passed away. Your Honor, I spent 64 nights with my mother as her caregiver first and a daughter second. It was a battle of tough love between her dementia, hallucinations, medications, personal care, and repetitive conversations multiple times a day. It was mentally exhausting. In November, I asked my youngest sister for help, as she is the administrator of our parents' estate. She refused to accommodate me, told me it wasn't possible, when in fact her Black Friday shopping was priority. I cried almost every day. I thought my mom was too stubborn to die, but watching her decline before my eyes was the absolute worst punishment ever. I missed both of my parents' funerals. My oldest son is getting married next year. I need a right hip replacement and my knee is messed up. I can barely stand or walk. My PO kept telling me to take care of myself, but it was kind of hard when I was the only one there. I had 2 other sisters who refused to step up to help me until they were given no choice when I left my mom's house on December 17th, which was the last day I saw my mom. We all know I'm far from perfect, Your Honor. I just needed a mental break in November to reset myself. This wasn't what I had in mind. I just wanted more time with my mom. A daughter without her mother is a woman broken. It is a loss that turns to arthritis and settles deep in your bones. This I now know. My mom was my worst enemy, but my biggest supporter. And not being able to say goodbye to her and my dad because of my own actions is just cruel. I'm suffering every day. Every time I look at my mom's obituary, I just can't believe that she's gone. Her cancer, she had bone cancer, was horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. And Your Honor, I know that the court wants to throw the book at me, and I probably deserve it. But I feel I've already had the worst punishment a daughter could get, and that was losing both my parents and not being able to grieve them properly. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Rakowski, on behalf of the people, this is a victim's rights case.
It is a victim's rights case. We ask you to take into account the victim's impact statement included in the pre-sentence. Without going into detail on that, the court's read the pre-sentence reports. You've seen that. We've talked about this case in the office. It's very sad. The circumstance that Ms. Brawlett brings up, it's true. But the recommendations are based, I believe, in fact, on the fact that the last time that we were here. And mind you, Ms. Brawlett has 9 prior felonies and 4 prior misdemeanors, but one of them involves taking money from her mother. And then we get to this case where her mother, when she gets out of prison, her mother wanted to see her again and to interact with her. Ms. Brawlett described her interactions with her mom. The fact is, though, that she'd taken her mom's debit card and used it at these 2 different places to the tune of the amount that the court has in front of it. And when you victimize somebody once and then you victimize them again, and she knew her mother's circumstance, I think that's why, and we would ask you to adopt the recommendations because it is at the high end of the guidelines, but I believe the circumstances of what Ms. Brawlett did, just getting out on parole, it's the same thing. It is worse because she knew her mother was dying as it is, and then she uses this debit card from her mom to not just use it once, not use it twice, but use it multiple times at 2 different locations. That's why we have the 2 separate files, Your Honor. As far as the credit, there is no credit because she's on parole, but the dead time that she's serving is going to go towards her parole violation. And so it's not going to be that she's not going to get any credit for it. It's just she's going to get it on her parole, not on this file.
It's difficult when you lose a parent or lose parents. And certainly Ms. Brawlett experienced that not too long ago. And the last time Ms. Brawlett was here, yes, a prison sentence was imposed, but the idea was learn from that experience and don't repeat the behavior. And the court understands there's some mental health considerations as well, and the court has considered those, but at the end of the day, Ms. Brawlett was on parole while her mom was in hospice care. She took her mom's card, purchased iPhone, iPad, a laptop, and then gambling on FanDuel. Over $11,000 charged on the card. And, you know, maybe there's addictions relative to gambling because that's certainly difficult once you get into that. But having the love of your parents, your mom who's dying, but then to take her card and do what you did, Ms. Brawlett, is sadly unacceptable.
Yeah.
You've had the opportunity, Ms. Brawlett. You've had the opportunity to speak. That's what I read in the pre-sentence.
I had no help. I couldn't leave her there by herself. I was the only one there for 64 nights.
So what gave you the right to take the card and use it? How does that correlate? It doesn't.
I had no right.
That's the point.
And I take full responsibility.
And the court
But
appreciates
who was
that.
there to help me? Nobody. And it's not about me. I'm not saying it's about me. I had stuff I was dealing with too, but nobody stepped up to the plate. What was I supposed to do? I did what I did to get out of the situation, so my other sisters had to step up.
How does that help with gambling?
I wanted to pay off my debts. I was alone and I'm still alone.
It will be the sentence of this court in 7402 FH for count 1. Defendant is committed to the Michigan Corrections Commission, placed in their custody for a period of 48 months, 30 years, credit for no time served, $130 crime victims assessment will be ordered. Attorney fees are waived in all files. $68 in state costs will be ordered. June 22nd, due date 2026. Count 2, financial transaction device will be the sentence of this court. The defendant be committed to the Michigan Corrections Commission and placed in their custody for a period of 2 years to a maximum of 15 years. credit for no time served, $68 in state costs will be ordered. And if I wasn't clear in count one, it's 48 months to 30 years, if I didn't state that. Count three, financial transaction device illegal sale or use. Same sentence, 24 months, Department of Corrections to a maximum of 15 years, no credit for time served, $68 in state costs will be ordered. In 7407 will be the sentence of this court, that the defendant be committed to the Michigan Corrections Commission and placed in their custody for a period of 36 months, 5 years, no credit for time served, $130 crime victims assessment, again, attorney fees are waived, $68 in state costs will be ordered. These sentences shall be served concurrently with each other, but consecutive to the parole sentence. It's my duty to inform the defendant she has right to seek leave to appeal. If she's financially unable to provide counsel of her own choice, court will assign counsel for expense. She's to initial the receipt questionnaire form requesting the assignment of counsel, both of which must be executed under oath and filed with the clerk of the court within 42 days. Was there any restitution requested?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Yeah, there's no restitution requested. Remanded in custody of the sheriff. No. Right here, Your Honor.
A woman stood before the court, broken, emotional, and full of regret. She admitted she had no right to use her dying mother's debit card, but claimed the pain she was carrying pushed her to the edge. For 64 nights straight, she stayed beside her mother as a caregiver, battling dementia, hallucinations, medications, and emotional exhaustion completely alone. She told the judge her father died unexpectedly, and before she could recover from that loss, doctors gave her mother only 6 months to live. Then came the heartbreaking moment. On January 25th, 2026, her mother passed away. The woman said she missed both of her parents' funerals, and every single day since then has felt like punishment. But prosecutors weren't convinced. They reminded the court that this wasn't her first offense. She already had multiple prior felonies, including stealing money from her own mother in the past. And this time, while her mother was in hospice care, she used the debit card again. Not once, not twice, but multiple times. The money was spent on iPhones, an iPad, a laptop, and even gambling on FanDuel. More than $11,000 charged to the account. The judge listened carefully, but in the end, his words were cold and direct. Losing a parent is painful, but exploiting a dying mother's trust was something the court could not ignore. When asked why she did it, the woman broke down again. "I had no right," she admitted, "but nobody was there to help me." Still, the court ruled that grief could not excuse the crime. The sentence was severe. Several years in prison, multiple felony convictions, and parole consequences stacked on top. As deputies prepared to take her away, the courtroom fell silent. A tragic story of loss, addiction, desperation, and choices that changed everything forever.